From the Weston A. Price Foundation, welcome to the Wise Traditions podcast for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. We are your source for scientific knowledge and traditional wisdom to help you achieve optimal health. And now here is our host and producer, Hilda Labr Gore.
Hey, Hilda here. If your hormones are shot, there are many ways to get back on track. This is episode 489, and our guest today is Dr. Tami Meraglia, the author of The Hormone Secret. She works with both men and women and helps them correct hormone imbalances and deficiencies. On today's episode, Tami offers ideas particularly for women to learn how to naturally harmonize their bodies before, during, and after menopause. She goes over the factors that get our hormones out of whack in the first place, including a 24/7 lifestyle and the stress that comes with it. And she explains the role of various hormones in giving us the vitality and peace we seek. She also covers the role of testosterone for women and natural traditional herbs that can help women regain their vitality. Finally, she covers the importance of hormone replacement therapy as we age, and she explains why fine is not good enough. She wants every woman to feel fabulous. And a quick heads up, in this episode, Tami does recommend bioidentical hormones. It's a protocol that the Weston A. Price Foundation does not necessarily endorse. Before you get into the conversation, I want to tell you that we have resources in Spanish at the Weston A. Price Foundation. We have a podcast in Spanish called Tradiciones Sabias, hosted by Annette and Alberto Medina. In addition, we have wonderful pamphlets. We have the Instagram account in Spanish at Weston A. Price en Español. So go to our website and click on the tab that says WAPF en Español on the home page. Que disfrutes. This is Hilda Labr Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. Welcome to Wise Traditions, Tami.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
I'm excited to talk all things hormonal health for women. And I want to start with a story of that biohacker who walked through your doors and how you were able to help her with her hormonal health and balance.
Yes, I always feel like I work for my patients, so I'm going to listen to them and respect their wishes. But I really think that there's a lot of extremes in healthcare right now, right? You've got your traditional medical doctors who are only focused on diseases and conditions. I think that if we renamed healthcare to sick care, we wouldn't have as much frustration because it really has nothing to do with your health or your wellness or prevention or longevity or vitality. But when you're sick, I'm awfully glad that we have it there for us.
Yes.
Then the other extreme is just a host of influencers and everything from A to Z that is telling you, don't ever eat gluten. Don't touch the paper receipts because you're going to get toxic chemicals, and don't go for a walk. You have to put 60 packs of pounds on and go for a ruck. And there's just all these extremes. And so she was buying into all of this and just literally making herself crazy. And so I would respect and we would investigate them through the lens of who I am. And so I'm an MD, but I'm also certified in naturopathic medicine. And so you can either call me the most cynical naturopath in the world or the most open-minded MD. So either one works. And she's been my patient for almost 15 years. Most of my patients have been with me for over a decade. And she said to me a couple of weeks ago,
wow,
I'm doing less and feeling better than I ever have in the last 15 years. And her blood work looks like somebody 15 years younger. And she just is so peaceful. And that's the thing, right? Homeostasis is a state of ease. It is not a push all the time. And I think that women sometimes who are wanting to optimize their health, they get sucked into this male version of like work out hard and run hard and push hard and fast and don't eat. And it's not for us perimenopausal and menopausal women. It just isn't. The vast majority of us do much better when we harmonize instead of hack.
Oh, I love that. Harmonize instead of hack. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of us get caught up in what the influencers or the young 30-something guys are saying that we should do when we're not men. We have a different rhythm. So talk to us a little bit about hormonal balance. Why are our hormones apparently so out of whack for so many women right now?
So I literally wrote a book called The Hormone Secret because I was just getting so frustrated in my practice. When I did family medicine, I would have all these women come to me and they would say, I'm not feeling myself. I've lost my joy. I've lost my enjoyment. I don't laugh. I'm 10 or 15 pounds overweight, tired. I get irritated easily. My sleep's not great, on and on and on. And I would run, the CBC and the thyroid and look for anemia and all these things. And then when they came back, I would tell them they were fine. And that's when I realized, fine is a 4-letter word that nobody wakes up in the morning saying, gosh, gee willikers, I want to be fine today. You want to be fabulous. And then the second thing is that the absence of disease does not equal wellness. And I realized then that I had to switch gears, finished my traditional medical training and started my naturopathic training so that I could focus on wellness and vitality. And I was thinking, gosh, what is the missing piece here? And I actually started on gut and liver health. I was like, that's the key. So important. We've got to fix our gut. We've got to fix our liver. But people were feeling so yucky. That's a medical term. That they didn't do the work to fix their gut. It involves changing your diet and doing a lot of different things. And I thought, I wonder if I just addressed their hormones first and got them feeling better, would they then have the energy to then explore other areas of their health, like the microbiome and all of that. And it turns out hormones were a game changer. Hormones, and especially testosterone for women, which is not always tested for, discussed, or addressed. We only need a little bit, but it has an outsized role in how we look, how we feel, and how we function.
Oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. So let's talk about the hormones in general. And then I do want to talk about testosterone. What hormones are we talking about that can get out of balance?
Well, when you're going through perimenopause, which starts in your late 30s and can last, over 10 years, or menopause, your hormones like estrogen and progesterone and even your DHEA and your testosterone is actually moving to be produced in your adrenal glands. And these are tiny little glands. They're the size and shape of a walnut, and they sit one on top of your kidneys. And they have to produce all of your hormones that deal with stress, like cortisol and adrenaline, et cetera. And now they're also being asked to produce all of the hormones that bless you, like progesterone, which is called the Valium that bathes the female mind and allows you to sleep through the night and not wake up wide awake between 2 and 4 in the morning, or want to choke somebody because you're so irritated because you don't have any. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that our 24/7 lifestyle is taxing our adrenal glands at an earlier and more significant stage than ever before, which leaves our bodies in a deficit of those hormones that need to be produced to bless your life. That's just not happening because it's cortisol, cortisol, cortisol. Your adrenal glands don't know that traffic is not life and death, that the deadline isn't life and death, that social media post that hurt your feelings and caused a feeling of trauma isn't really going to affect your life and death. Our bodies really were designed to produce cortisol for a short amount of time so you could run away from the bear, and then you either got eaten or you got away. It really wasn't designed to go on and on and on like it is now.
Relentlessly. And what you're saying, Tami, sounds to me like even the experience of 20-somethings, let alone perimenopausal and menopausal women.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're finding that especially progesterone I've had women in their late 30s that have undetectable progesterone levels. And it's just like, oh my gosh. One day I'm going to buy a case of red capes Because there's so many women out there who are still showing up. They're showing up at work. They're showing up in their families. They're showing up in their partners, their marriages or relationships. And they have no chemicals, no hormones to help them do that. So I want them to know that I think they're Wonder Women for being able to even show up the way they are. But it doesn't have to be that hard. It really doesn't. There's so many things that we can do.
Some of the things you've talked about, Tami, sound like they're external to us. The demands from work, that deadline, the traffic, maybe the demands at home with the children or the spouse, some tensions or what have you. What internal things are also affecting our hormones, do you think?
This is my very favorite thing to talk about. I'm so glad you asked. So our thoughts and our feelings affect every single cell in our body. And people go, what? That sounds woo woo and all of that.
Yeah.
But just stay with me for a moment. If you're in the car and you hear a siren and see lights behind you, your body will react. Your eyes will dilate. Your palms will get sweaty. Your breathing will get rapid. Your heart rate will increase. You will have a full on physical cellular response to what? A thought that you're going to get pulled over. And so I like to compare our thoughts and feelings like a doctor's prescription, right? So your thoughts and your feelings write the prescription, and they write the prescription for exactly what it is. So I write a prescription for fear or anxiety or worry or stress. Then what do you do with a prescription? You take it to the pharmacy, right? Mm-hmm. And the pharmacist is your pituitary. That is the master gland that dispenses the chemicals and hormones that match the prescription. A pharmacist doesn't change the prescription. It doesn't say to the patient, oh gosh, that's going to make you feel terrible. You shouldn't fill that. It just dispenses. So then we have all of these chemicals and hormones that are released into our entire body based on your thoughts and your feelings that affect the activity of every cell in your body. But the good news is if our thoughts and our feelings can make us sick, then could they make us feel great? And the answer is yes. We also can have thoughts and feelings that produce oxytocin, which is a really wonderful hormone that will make you feel more connected and help you digest and feel wonderful. So it isn't just external environmental things that affect us. We actually are the CEOs of our own health.
Wow. Powerful words to think about. And I want to go back to what you were saying earlier about testosterone. Most of us think that's a male hormone. It has nothing to do with women. Talk to us about its role in women's health.
So I think of hormones as a symphony. 100 years ago, danced professionally in a ballet company. That was my first career.
Wow.
So the symphony was a second love. I love dancing because of the music, I found out. So hormones are like the symphony. And, if you have the string part of the symphony that sounds terrible, the whole symphony sounds terrible. And so if you leave out testosterone, you're not addressing the whole symphony. And so many times in traditional medicine, you're having women get estrogen and progesterone checked. And then if you have a hysterectomy, they don't even care about progesterone. What about the fact that we have testosterone receptors in our brain, in our muscles? Testosterone has been used to treat depression. It has everything to do with our fat muscle ratio. It helps with our bone health. It helps with energy. I think with women, they think, oh, it's about libido. Well, yes, but it's not in the top 5. I would say energy is one of the top 5 things that if your testosterone is going down or is non-existent, then you will find an improvement in your energy, not just throughout the day, but recovering from when you do exercise and your ability to build muscle. When we're in menopause, no matter what you do or don't do, if you don't change what you're doing and do more resistance training and weight training, you lose muscle every single year. And that's partly to do with the loss of the ingredient called testosterone that helps make it.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, there are things we can do both with our thoughts to produce the oxytocin, with movement to get back what we're losing with the testosterone, what else can we do to kind of reclaim our hormonal health?
The research is abundantly clear that now that hormone replacement therapy, if done in the perimenopause or within 10 years of your last menstrual period, has a host of protective health benefits. One of the big ones is cardiovascular disease. Another is dementia, osteoporosis, and genitourinary symptoms. And people think, what is that? Well, that is getting frequent urinary tract infections or having painful sex, things like that. This will actually prevent that from happening. And when you're in full-on menopause and your body's not producing these hormones anymore, it's impossible to find a supplement or a lifestyle that's going to restore them all the way. So I'm not saying that every single solitary person is a great candidate for hormone replacement therapy, but there are way more women that would benefit from having that conversation with their provider than are even being given the choice. That's my big thing, is you should have the choice. If you choose to go through the last season of your life without the support of hormone therapy because you have received all the information, you are not basing your decision on misinformation, lack of information, fear, a patriarchal society that doesn't pay for these things for women, then that's not okay with me. But if you choose to do that, having fully been informed, then I respect you. You're the CEO, right? I work for my patients, and you should fire your doctor if they're not serving you. But up until that, we can support our hormones. And remember, it's really through supporting the adrenal glands. So one of my favorite things is to look at the bioavailability. Our testosterone and our estrogen and things like that, mostly estrogen and testosterone, are being carried around by protein called the sex hormone binding globulin. Think of it as a bus, taking these hormones from A to B. So you don't necessarily sometimes need more testosterone. Maybe just get some of the testosterone off the bus and get more bioactivity. And taking 500 to 1,000 milligrams of maca, which is just an herb. You can make maca chicken, but you can take it in a capsule form as well, can actually kick your testosterone off of the sex hormone binding globulin and increase your bioavailability testosterone levels.
So is that part of the hormone replacement therapy, taking maca, or could it be? Or is that a separate thing?
I mean, it depends on who you see as a provider. Like I was mentioning to you earlier, we didn't have any new patients for 5 years, and we just opened our practice again, and we're now nationwide, and it's basically because of this need. So I like to focus on what will the patient do. There's no point in giving you a list of 5 supplements. If you hate taking pills, you forget all the time and all of that stuff. So I need to understand you so that I can customize and personalize it. But there are nutrition things. For example, when you eat can affect your functioning of your adrenal gland and the production of your hormones just as much as what you eat.
Yes, the timing.
Yes, same as sleep. Same as exercise. Coffee. I'm married to an Italian. Of course, we drink coffee. But coffee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach is like slapping your adrenal glands across the face to wake them up.
Wow.
And if you already have adrenal fatigue, you're not going to be very happy with you.
Coming up, Tami goes over a few ancient herbs that are efficacious for vitality and restoring hormone balance as we age. She also offers surprising and free tips for upping testosterone and hormone balance.
You're listening to the Wise Traditions podcast from the Weston A. Price Foundation. We pause now to recognize our sponsors.
Paleo Valley. Paleo Valley has an apple cider vinegar complex that gives you all of the healing properties of apple cider vinegar without all of the fuss or burn. Why take it? It is well documented that apple cider vinegar supports digestion. It breaks down proteins for better absorption and improves blood sugar response, helping to fight cravings. The main ingredient, acetic acid, supports in extracting nutrients from food for use by the body. And Paleo Valley combines apple cider vinegar along with healing spices like turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, and lemon for added digestive benefits. And there are clinically proven benefits that come along with these Spices that include improved blood pressure, reduced risk of heart disease, and offering help for pre-diabetics and T2 diabetics. Apple cider vinegar supplementation may also be helpful with muscle cramps and satiety. So head over to paleovalley.com/wise to receive 15% off your first order of the Paleo Valley Apple Cider Vinegar Complex or any of their other amazing products. Again, that's paleovalley.com/wise for 15% off. And sacred hunting. Learn how to hunt, even if you've never fired a rifle. Develop intimacy with nature, connection with food, confidence in yourself through sacred hunting. Sacred hunting retreats are designed to facilitate personal growth and a deeper appreciation for the natural world around us. A weekend experience includes plant medicine rituals and Native American components like a sweat lodge that makes this an amazing opportunity to explore who you are on a profound level. It's something of a rite of passage. One recent attendee, Mallory Jack, said, "I thought I was going to hunt animals, but I actually went on a hunt for my soul. I left my sacred hunting experience with a crystal clear picture of my vision and mission in life." And another attendee, Sky King, said, "I wanted a greater connection to the land and a deeper understanding of the responsibility of taking a life to feed the family. I felt supported and guided through the seriousness of this action. It was done with reverence and respect." Do you want to learn more? Go to sacredhunting.com to fill out the application and set up an exploratory call. There are only 6 spots for each hunt, so go to sacredhunting.com today. And you can save $250 off the entire experience by mentioning the Wise Traditions podcast. Again, that's sacredhunting.com and mention the Wise Traditions podcast for a discount. This is Hoda Labr Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. I don't know much about hormone replacement therapy, so I was encouraged to hear you say that maca and maybe there are other natural ways to do it, because I thought it was all like a conventional treatment for women as they were aging.
No, not at all. And then the other thing is I don't think that women realize that bioidentical hormones are available at your regular pharmacy. So I get my progesterone, my bioidentical micronized progesterone from Safeway, and it cost me $3.97 for a 1-month supply.
Wow.
Yeah, there's this app called GoodRx that tells you which pharmacy has the best prices. So these are the things that you need to be getting your physician to work with you on. Like, where's the most affordable place? Where can I get this? What else can I do? And you shouldn't be in charge. They should be offering you these things. Tonggak Ali is another Indonesian herb that has been shown in research to increase your body's testosterone as well. Ashwagandha is another one. These are ancient herbs that used to be for vitality. Well, no wonder, because they increase your testosterone. But guess what else does? Exercise. Using your large muscles will increase your testosterone. There was a study that showed that standing like Wonder Woman in a powerful position actually increased your level of testosterone. So there's all kinds of things that you can do. Sleep, one of the most powerful health enhancing tools that you have in your toolkit. If your butt is not in bed before 10 on a regular basis so that you can visit the 5 levels of sleep before your body starts producing that cortisol to wake you up at about 4 a.m., you're just not going to be your best. Your hormones aren't going to be optimized. It's like filling up a tub with a leak.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. And of course, Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, who is one of our good friends here at the foundation, she suggests getting in bed at 8. In other words, the earlier you go to bed, the more time for that melatonin to be released, the more quickly you can get into that deep sleep, which is very restorative. So I'm all about the early bedtime. But I wanted to ask you, Tami, if you understand some of these things, not just scientifically or intellectually, but from personal experience.
So I went to med school later because, my first career as a ballet dancer, and there's a real benefit to that. I didn't kind of swallow all the Kool-Aid. Like, I remember learning about stomach acid and, we have to give patients a PPI or a histamine blocker, and we have to squash down or block the release of stomach acid. And I'm like, wait a minute. How do we have less acid when we're in our 40s and 50s than we did when we were 18. And there's a bunch of 18-year-old football players that eat a pizza, drink some Coke, and lay down and go to sleep and don't have any acid reflux. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I didn't swallow all of the Kool-Aid. But I was older, I was married, and so I had my first child in residency as in my first year. And I was shooting on myself. Like, of course I'm tired. I have a baby and I'm back at work and I'm working 80 hours and et cetera, et cetera. I would literally lay down on the floor between patients under my desk. I was so tired. And it had been a year since I'd given birth. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just check my hormones. And I did what I usually do for my patients. And I checked everything and it was fine. And I thought, for some reason, I was like, yeah, but what about the rest of the hormones I've been learning about? Like, what if I checked everything? And lo and behold, I had 0.1 was my measurement of testosterone.
Oh.
0.1.
What's the normal level?
Between 2 and 5, 3, 4, but really it depends on your age. We want you to be optimal for your age. I don't want my 60-year-olds to have the same level as my 23-year-olds. But it was very, very low. And I didn't feel like I had the time or energy to focus on changing my lifestyle or my food or take a bunch of supplements because I was working as a resident, etc. So I chose to use 1 milligram of topical testosterone from a compounding pharmacy because that dose wasn't available at a regular pharmacy. And my life changed overnight.
Really?
Literally within a week, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm back. Nice to meet you, Tami. Where have you been?
Yes. Wow.
And so that was it. I was like, you can't skip corners. If you want to have it all, you've got to look at it all.
So since you've been at this for a little while, Tami, tell me what you consider.
Over 20 years.
Yeah. Well, that's a little while in the grand scheme of life. What do you consider to be the essential pillars for optimal health?
So I think that there's just 3. One is structure. If you have a broken bone, you got to get that fixed. There's no essential oils or nutrition that's literally going to fix it. It might help it, but it's not going to fix it. Number 2 is chemicals. Hormones are chemicals. Our food becomes chemicals inside of us. And then we have chemicals outside of us, right? That affect us, pesticides and all kinds of things. And then the third thing is the thing that I don't think is woven into the health picture. And that's energy, frequency. Every cell in your body has an electrical current. And if you change the frequency, you can actually change the outcome of a stem cell becoming something else inside your body or the functioning. And we have this part of health that's partitioned off, and we have amazing people like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Deepak Chopra and all of that have carved out this, but really it needs to be into and with the others. If you have all 3 of those pillars intact and optimized, you're like a rocket with 3 engines. You're just going to go straight up. It's going to be amazing. Your body is strong and resilient. If you only have 2, you probably think that you're healthy and that there's nothing wrong, but it only takes a job loss, a relationship breakup, or a worldwide pandemic to make you unwell. And if you have 1, you probably already have a diagnosis or a condition.
Wow. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. So you said the 3 pillars are structure. Is that right?
Yes.
Chemicals?
Yes.
And energy.
Yes.
So then each of those we want to find a way to shore up and address. And I'm guessing from this conversation so far that the first thing we might need to do is assess from what you've been saying. See where we're at.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm right, but I'm biased and you can't go through all the training I did with being an MD. I am biased that if you don't test, you're guessing. And if you don't test, you can't know if what you're doing is worth the time, energy, and the money because you don't know if it did anything. I do also make sure that the very beginning, a lot of my patients is like, oh, what does the lab work say? And I said, I don't know. We have to filter it through what you're feeling and how you're doing. So it matters subjectively, but you still got to have data.
I like that you're saying that you have to filter it because let's say the normal testosterone levels, as you were saying, it varies depending on age, but it's between, let's say, 2 and 5.
Yeah.
And let's say someone has a level 6 and it's a woman, but she's feeling good or whatever. I guess I want to say not everybody fits within the framework that conventional medicine offers us.
Yeah, I say those people's bodies forgot to read the textbook, and that's okay.
Well, speaking of those people, you've worked with a number of clients. Tell me the story of a client who maybe did some of this assessment, looked at those pillars, and made some shifts, and what happened as a result. I know you've seen so many people, but can you think of one story that you'd like to share with us, Tami?
Yeah, I'm blessed to treat a lot of celebrities, movie stars, singers, professional athletes. I live in Seattle, so the Seahawks. And those people, I think it's harder for them to realize because they're already performing at a high level. But some of the movie stars, the women that are getting into their 50s and they still want to be their best. They don't want to be having hot flashes on set. They don't want to have brain fog when they're trying to figure out how to memorize their lines. And they want to also look really their best without looking like they've been done and going to a plastic surgeon and doing all of that. Mm-hmm. So one particular woman, she has been seeing me for about 8 years. And she just texts me all the time and says, I know I resist you because I'm so busy to not get these blood tests, but every time I do and we do a little tweak, my life gets sweeter. And isn't that a beautiful word?
Yes.
So I don't usually use those words because I like medical data, but I thought it was a really great description.
So what would you say to the person, Tami, who's like, I don't like that sweeter thing either. I think all this paying attention to the individual patient is a lot of hokiness or whatever. We should really focus on, or maybe too woo-woo. We need to focus on the numbers and getting the numbers in the right range. I guess this is the question. Have you worked with patients or clients that got into the right range and still weren't feeling sweet?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think that a lot of my patients come to me because they've had their regular physician prescribe them thyroid and they didn't feel any better. They wanted to have a higher dose. Their doctor refused as if it's like heroin or something. It's crazy. Doctors don't prescribe thyroid. And so they come to me and say, are you willing to prescribe a higher dose to see how I do? And I said, if you're willing to do follow-up, I absolutely am, because my first job is to keep you safe. Mm-hmm. But we have a membership model, so our patients have unlimited support. So yes, lots of my patients come to us because they've been put into the cookie cutter of I've had my regular doctor say X, Y, and Z, and it didn't help me. And I need more, or I need less, or I need something different.
Well, and speaking of thyroid, why do so many women, as they get older, start to have issues with their thyroid function?
Oh, that's like a whole podcast in of itself. I think that a lot of it has to do, personally, I think, your thyroid needs iodine. And you can get a big goiter and hypothyroidism if you don't have it. That's why it was put in salt, et cetera, et cetera. But fluoride inhibits that whole process. And so does bromide. And our flour, our wheat, is brominated.
And our water is fluoridated.
Yeah. So then there's a production of something called reverse T3. So your thyroid produces all these amazing hormones, but they're not active. So then it goes down further stream where it becomes activated. And it has this little enzyme called 5'-deiodinase. The iota is because it has iodine in it. And it uses that to convert it to free T3, which is the active form of thyroid in your body and does all the work. But in some people, that prime of the enzyme is lost. And so you have 5-deiodinase instead. And it still produces T3, but it produces reverse T3, which has no activity. It's a dud.
Oh.
So the problem with this is it's the perfect size and shape, so it fits into your receptor so that a good free T3 can't fit, and it has no activity. And so we find that in some people, their body produces reverse T3 when they eat gluten. In some people, their body reproduces reverse T3 because they have mercury in their system. But if you don't check if somebody has reverse T3, how do you even know what's going on? Like, you don't want to check everybody for mercury toxicity and tell every single person to never eat gluten again. You got to test. I think that when you test intentionally, that you can actually get just exponential results.
And I think those results are needed now more than ever. I feel like, as I said earlier, it's not just older women that are struggling right now, but all women 21 and up seem to be, at least in the Western world, so stressed and so fatigued and losing their hair. Like, I'm just like, why are they losing their hair? They're 20 something, but they're just really out of balance. Yeah, their skin is, they've got acne and they're 30, right? So I wonder what they should address first of the 3 pillars you mentioned, the structure, the chemicals, or the energy, like how they could approach that.
I think usually the chemicals are the easiest. They're the big hitters. Funny enough, I had 2 patients this week so far who had their first appointment, and they're in their 30s, and their concern is their skin. They've never had acne, and they have just cystic acne that won't go. They're healthy. They work out. They drink water. It's getting worse, not better. And so addressing hormones first is a big deal. But then acne is red and angry looking because it's inflamed. So are you eating something that you might be sensitive to? Turns out this one woman, we got back her food sensitivity, and literally her top 3 sensitivities were things that she ate every single solitary day, thinking that they were healthy choices.
Oh.
She stopped. Her skin looks better in 1 month than it has for a year.
Wow.
So data, right?
What were the 3 things for her? Just curious.
Yeah, for her, it was almonds, which almonds are healthy for you, right?
Everyone thinks so.
She was having almonds for a snack, almond milk in her protein shake, etc. Dairy. She was eating Greek yogurt because she wanted to increase her protein every day and things like that. And then the third one was cheese, which is whey. It's not quite dairy. And so she was eating a lot of cheese. She knew it wasn't great for her, but she didn't realize that it was causing her acne or contributing to her acne.
Wow. Well, this has been so interesting. But I want to ask you now the question I like to pose at the end, Tami. If the listener could do only one thing to improve their health, what would you recommend that they do?
Meditate. I think that meditation is that thought and that feeling that writes the prescription for calming and rejuvenating and healing hormones to be released into your body. And without that, so if you have everything else, you need to meditate. If you do nothing else, you need to meditate because it's going to make you feel better right away. I wish we could charge like $5,000 for it, because then people would be like, dang, I'm not wasting this. I'm going to meditate. But free. And the thing I want to tell you, when you just start meditating, you're going to suck. It's going to be awful. Maybe not. It's okay. There's no such thing as a bad meditation.
Wow. I'm so thankful you took the time to be with us, Tami. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Our guest today was Dr. Tami Meraglia. Visit her website, biothrivelife.com, to learn more. And I am Hilda Labr Gore, the host and producer of this podcast on behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation. You can find me at holistichilda.com. And for the transcript for this podcast episode, visit our website, westonaprice.org, and click on the podcast page. And now for a recent podcast review from Apple Podcasts entitled Better Than Gold. News said this: Hands down, this podcast is one of the most valuable discoveries I've made. Recently, I stumbled onto the exceptionally assembled landmark book of Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston A. Price, and I have been inspired by its content and timeliness, as it was written over 80 years ago, prior to commercialized foods' infiltration of every culture. This led me to what I'd argue is one of the most enlightening podcasts available. It is a treasure trove of authentic, wisely guided, nature-centered discussions when they are needed most. Since we are all faced with food counterfeits and threats to our health, this discovery came at a great time for me. I've listened to over 70 episodes and shared dozens and tested the ideas and just joined the Weston A. Price Foundation today. Hilda gets my sincerest accolades and thanks for guiding excellent discussions and bringing to light areas of legitimate value. I only wish I had dialed in to this 20 years ago, but hey, I'm glad to have this resource now. It really is better than gold. Oh my gosh, News, this is an amazing review. It means so much to us. You're listening, and the changes you've experienced are the reason we do what we do. And I want to thank each of you for listening. Stay well, my friend, and keep your feet on the ground and your face to the sun.
On behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation, thanks for listening. We have many free resources to support you on your health journey. Visit westonaprice.org to find podcasts, articles, videos, and more. You can also find a local chapter near you for help in finding sources of great food. We invite you to support the Foundation's mission of education, research, and activism by becoming a member. Thanks again, and take care. Wise Traditions is a project of the Weston A. Price Foundation for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. The content on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended to substitute for the advice provided by your doctor or other healthcare professional. It is not intended to be, nor does it constitute healthcare or medical advice.